Hi, this is Lisa Rangel with Chameleon Resumes, a premier executive resume writing company, and thank you so much for joining me today. So today I want to talk about 3 things that you can do to feel better in this market. Now, clearly there's more than 3 things that you can do, but I just want to keep it manageable, simple, give you 3, and even if you take 1 and run with it, we have a win here. So, what inspired me to do this video, or the topic for this video, is, I have colleagues, clients, friends, family that, because we're now coming into February and some companies have a fiscal end in January, or, their first quarter has been launched now a month in, and, all the decisions come in February for various arbitrary date reasons that, now they're going to find out, like this month, this week, if they're going to be laid off or not, and obviously in the last few weeks, it's been very tumultuous, and it's been a nutty market. It's been absolutely a nutty market. So I think it's important to take some time and take a breather and take a minute to do something somewhat consistently, even if it's a different thing or the same thing, but to do something consistently to help you feel better, because we have to feel better. There's that, I think it's America's Got Talent. I'm just thinking of this right now. Contestant, I think her name was Songbird. I can't remember. Nightbird. She was really inspirational to me. And she said before she auditioned, you can't wait for things to be great to be happy. And I'm probably paraphrasing a little bit, but you have to be happy even when things aren't going so well. So with that said, what are 3 things that you can do so you can feel better in this nutty market? Let's dive in. So the first suggestion I have is to really limit your time with the news. This is actually something that has helped me quite a bit. However you get the news, if it's on your phone, delete the apps or limit the time with the apps, or if it's, TV, or in your car, via podcasts or radio, whatever the case may be, like just limit your time with the external input. Where I got this idea from was, frankly, years ago. I had a friend who worked for a publishing company. And I remember it was during one of the, I think 2008-9 downturn, frankly. And I remember her telling me, despite her working for a publishing organization, they'd had news outlets, they had periodic publishing venues and whatnot. And she told me that she really didn't listen to the news. And I'm like, how do you do that? You work for XYZ. She's like, I find out what I need to find out. I research what I need to research, but I don't need this constant influx of stuff that just alters my mood all day long. And I was like, I had no idea that people actually did that back then. And I use that advice quite a bit. And I'm like, well, if she can do it working for X, and she's a very successful person working for X, and even in that industry to this day, I'm like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. Everything I'm digesting is not, I'm not changing the world with that information. It's just becoming heavy for me to process. So, do your gut check. And I agree and wholeheartedly know there's a great degree of privilege in this, but if your digestion of the news is not inspiring you to make change and affect it, you really need to digest what help is it giving you by knowing. And if it's not helping you, really question if the input or the intake of it is helping you, and if you need to limit it. So that's item number 1. Item number 2 is, and this may sound really frivolous, and frankly, I struggle with this, but I'm going to give it to you anyway, because I know when I do it, I feel good about it. But schedule some play and curiosity in your day. I get inspired. This idea gets inspired in me many, many different ways. I would say most recently it came to me as an inspiration or re-inspiration. Reading Dory Clark's book, The Long Game, where she talks about, dedicating 20% of your time to explorations that, may not even come to any fruition, but you're learning, you're exploring. And I think this can be, my interpretation of it is it can be used, talking to people that you haven't reached out to before. And again, not just networking for your job search and your career, but just like talking to people. I think we've kind of lost that art of talking to people just to talk to people. It might be playing a game with a family member, right? If you have an elderly parent, maybe a card game, or, playing a video game with your kids, or having a game night with neighbors, right? I know that may sound foofy and old-fashioned, but frankly, that kind of stuff works. Like everything that gets us out of ourself, right? Send an email or a text or a LinkedIn message to 3 people going, hey, how are you doing? Let's chat. And if you send 3, you'll probably get 1 back, and then you'll have a conversation and just see where it goes, right? So like, it doesn't have to be this massive effort, but you can do the effort, because anything you can do to get out of yourself will help you feel better about, just how we're going through the day. The third thing that I suggest that you do, and it may sound slightly self-serving, but you don't have to hire us to do it, although it would be really wise if you hired us to do it, is honestly get your resume and profile ready. It's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine that so many LinkedIn post writers and the media are making this churn, this tumultuous time that we're in, make it sound like it's something new and it's never happened before. And honestly, that's not the truth. It churns and downturns have happened before, right? I've been through 3 or 4, depending on if you count 2020 and 2023, 22 as a downturn, or if you count it as 2 downturns, or if you count it as 1 downturn, right? So it depends. But, this has happened. And actually putting up this screenshot of what inspired me to add this to the list was the screenshot of a Facebook memory from 2012, where, a client was saying that, I asked the client how they were doing, and they're like, we're going through a reorg, but who isn't? But that was 2012, right? And that, that screenshot should pop up here in a minute if it didn't already. But like reorgs and layoffs and things happen, right? They happen well, they happen poorly, but they happen. And it's certainly not okay when it's done poorly. That is not what I'm saying, right? But anyone that is acting like it's new or it's never been done like this before, frankly, just hasn't been through it probably. And God bless them that they haven't been through it. But, those of us who have know that these things happen. And the key is, after it happens to you the first time, at least for me, I was like, all right, I'm going to be ready for this. And, I recently talked to a client from 2019. I talked to her end of 2022, and, she was laid off, and she said, you know what, it was unfortunate. I'm disappointed, but honestly, like, the resume's already working that you did for me in 2019. And I have all the notes from your team about how to interview, and I have all the things. And she's like, I'm not worried. I'm ready, and it's going to be okay. And it's because she was prepared, right? The same way that client in 2012 in that screenshot that I referred to was prepared. So, all you can control is what you have before you. All you can control is your degree of readiness. You'll never be able to prepare for everything. I wish I could. Believe me, if I could, I would. But, I've accepted the fact that I can't be prepared for everything. But man, I can be ready for a lot of things. And the more readiness I have, the better I can pivot. And that's what I want to impart for you. Because if no matter what comes your way, you're going to be ready to respond and pivot accordingly, that alone is going to make you feel better. And I just want you to feel better. So these are 3 things. I'm really eager to hear what other ones you would add. If you think you want to explore hiring us to get this number 3 part ready and have us do your documents, so this way you're ready and prepared and feel better as a result of it, schedule a chat with us. You can see the link to do that down below. But otherwise, I look forward to hearing your other suggestions, because Lord knows there's more than 3 things we can do to feel better. And, take care of each other. Thank you for watching. If you know of someone who can benefit from this video, I'm going to ask you to share it. If you liked it, I'm going to ask you to like it. If you have a comment or a question, feel free to add it below or message me at Lisa at lr@chameleonresumes.com. I read and reply to every comment and every email as best I can. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss next week's video. So thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay sane, and take care of each other. Have a good one.